When we think of a Capricorn, what often comes to mind are qualities like ambition, discipline, and a no-nonsense attitude. They're the people who stay calm under pressure, who build careers from the ground up, and who remain unshaken in the face of challenges. But there's another side to Capricorn, one that isn't always so obvious: their emotional vulnerability. Behind their strong exterior is a sensitive soul that values loyalty, respect, and trust. This is something many people overlook, especially when it comes to understanding how a Capricorn behaves when they're hurt. Capricorns are incredibly self-reliant. They don't wear their hearts on their sleeves, and they certainly don't want others to see them in a state of emotional turmoil. When they're hurt, they tend to retreat into themselves, closing off from the world. They won't usually confront you with their feelings. Instead, they will silently withdraw, creating a distance that's hard to bridge. If you've ever noticed a Capricorn pulling away without explanation, it's often because something deeper is going on. They may be struggling with feelings of betrayal, disappointment, or a sense of unworthiness, and they don't know how to express it. The emotional withdrawal isn't about indifference. Far from it. It's a defense mechanism. For a Capricorn, vulnerability feels like a loss of control. They would rather hold their pain inside than let anyone see them in a weak state. Unfortunately, this makes it harder for those around them to understand what's really going on. So, how can you tell when a Capricorn is hurt? What are the signs they give off, even though they're not verbalizing their feelings? Let's explore the first few signs that reveal when a Capricorn is emotionally wounded. Capricorns are known for their resilience and emotional self-control. But despite their stoic nature, when they're hurt, their reactions are often subtle and difficult to detect. They're not the type to openly show vulnerability, and instead, they bury their feelings deep inside. Still, there are telltale signs, small shifts in behavior, that signal when a Capricorn is emotionally wounded. Understanding these signs can help you connect with them on a deeper level and show your support when they need it most. Number 1, they become distant. When a Capricorn is hurt, the first thing you'll likely notice is that they become distant. This is not to be confused with their usual reserved nature. A Capricorn is always somewhat self-contained and private, but when they're emotionally wounded, this distance becomes more pronounced. They won't be as open with their thoughts, feelings, or even their time. If you usually share daily updates or have long conversations, this will suddenly stop. They'll retreat into themselves, focusing solely on what they deem important at the moment, which often means shutting out the world. Capricorns value their space, especially when dealing with their emotions. When hurt, they might need time to process their feelings, and this process is done privately. If you're in a relationship with a Capricorn, you might feel like there's a wall between you. They won't make the effort to connect or reassure you. Instead, you might be left wondering why things feel so strained. This emotional distance isn't about rejecting you, but rather, it's how they cope with their pain. They need time to sort through their emotions on their own terms before they can re-engage with others. If you notice this change, be patient and give them the space they need. Pressuring a Capricorn to open up before they're ready can cause them to pull even further away. Instead, offer them gentle support without pushing for a conversation. Let them know you're there when they are ready to talk, but respect their need for solitude. Number 2, they stop reaching out. Another clear sign that a Capricorn is hurt is that they stop reaching out. Capricorns are naturally dependable. They are the ones who check in with friends, follow up on commitments, and make sure others feel valued. When they're hurt, however, this characteristic changes. You'll notice that they no longer make the first move to start conversations, plan activities, or maintain contact. They won't text you first, and they'll be slow to respond when you reach out. This behavior can be particularly confusing because it contrasts so sharply with their usual demeanor. Normally, a Capricorn would take the initiative in maintaining relationships, even if it's just a quick message to check in. But when they're emotionally wounded, they'll retreat, avoiding the effort to reach out. It's as if they're waiting for the other person to take the lead, but even then, they might not reciprocate right away. Capricorns don't like to burden others with their feelings, so they might feel like they're doing you a favor by keeping their distance. They don't want to come across as needy or overly emotional, but this doesn't mean they don't need support. It's just their way of dealing with hurt. by pulling back and focusing on themselves. Number 3, they act cold and unemotional. If you've ever been around a Capricorn when they're upset, you know that they are incredibly good at hiding their emotions. However, when a Capricorn is deeply hurt, their emotional withdrawal becomes noticeable. They'll act cold, almost as if they've built an invisible barrier around themselves. They may become short with their responses, or even indifferent to things that would normally matter to them. Capricorns are ruled by Saturn, the planet of discipline, responsibility, and structure. When they are hurt, they often react by tightening up emotionally. It's a defense mechanism. If a Capricorn feels vulnerable or exposed, they will close off to avoid further emotional pain. You might find that they don't show affection, warmth, or any signs of emotion at all. They might even seem detached from the situation, as though nothing really matters to them anymore. This coldness isn't necessarily a reflection of their true feelings. Rather, it's a protective shield they put up to guard themselves from further harm. In some cases, they might even go so far as to pretend everything is fine, continuing to go about their daily life with little change in their routine. But inside, they're grappling with their feelings of hurt. If you notice this shift in their behavior, it's important to recognize that the Capricorn is likely dealing with something painful. They may not be ready to express their emotions, but the coldness is a sign that they need space to heal. Number 4, they withdraw from social activities. Capricorns are often the ones who take charge, whether it's organizing a social gathering or managing a group project. They like being involved and staying connected with their circle. But when they are hurt, you'll find that they withdraw from social activities. This might include canceling plans at the last minute or avoiding group events altogether. Their decision to step back from socializing is not a reflection of their feelings toward their friends or family. Rather, it's their way of protecting themselves from further emotional exposure. When hurt, a Capricorn feels vulnerable and may worry that being around others will force them to confront their pain. They might feel overwhelmed by the idea of interacting with others, especially if they sense that their emotions might spill over. If you're close to a Capricorn, this withdrawal might be difficult to understand. They're typically not the type to avoid social situations, and their absence can make you wonder what's wrong. However, this retreat is simply a sign that they need time to process what they're going through. It's not that they don't want to be around you, but they may not have the emotional energy to engage in social interactions. Number 5, they criticize or become overly judgmental. A Capricorn who is hurt may express their pain through criticism. They might start pointing out flaws in others, or they may be unusually judgmental, especially about things that don't normally bother them. This behavior stems from their internal struggle with their emotions. When a Capricorn is hurt, they're likely to turn their frustration outward, criticizing others as a way of coping with their own feelings of inadequacy or betrayal. Their criticism might seem harsh or disproportionate to the situation. They might nitpick at small details, or they might even make cutting remarks about the people around them. This is not a sign of malice, but rather a manifestation of their internal pain. It's easier for them to redirect their hurt onto others than to confront their own vulnerabilities. At the same time, Capricorns can be their own worst critics. If they feel they've let themselves down in some way, they might start to question their own abilities or self-worth. This self-critical attitude often extends to their relationships as well. They may wonder if they're deserving of the love and support they need, which only deepens their emotional withdrawal. Capricorns, though often seen as emotionally self-sufficient, can be deeply affected when hurt. They don't wear their hearts on their sleeves, and it's often difficult to tell when they're struggling. But despite their tough exterior, there are distinct signs that show when a Capricorn is emotionally wounded. These behaviors may not be as obvious as the first 5 signs, but they reveal just how deeply a Capricorn feels, even if they aren't openly displaying it. Let's explore 5 more signs that a Capricorn is hurting emotionally and how their reactions may differ from what you expect. Number 6, they focus intensely on work. One of the clearest signs that a Capricorn is hurt is when they become hyper-focused on their work. Capricorns are known for their dedication to their careers and their disciplined approach to achieving their goals. But when a Capricorn is emotionally wounded, this tendency becomes even more pronounced. They will immerse themselves in their work to avoid facing their emotions. Work for a Capricorn is a safe place. It's where they feel in control and where they derive a sense of accomplishment and validation. When hurt, they might use work as a distraction, throwing themselves into projects or tasks with a single-minded focus. They'll work longer hours, take on additional responsibilities, and seem almost obsessed with completing their goals. They might become so absorbed in their work that they start to neglect other aspects of their life, such as relationships or self-care. This isn't just about being productive. It's about using work as a shield against their pain. It's easier for a Capricorn to focus on something tangible, like a work project, than to confront the intangible emotions of betrayal or hurt. They may also feel like if they achieve something significant at work, it will help them forget the emotional turmoil they're experiencing. But in reality, this intense work focus is a coping mechanism, a way to push away the emotional pain without having to deal with it directly. If you notice a Capricorn becoming more consumed with their job than usual, it could be a sign that something is wrong. They may be retreating into their work as a way of protecting themselves from the emotional pain they don't know how to process. Number 7, they stop making an effort. When a Capricorn is hurt, one of the more noticeable signs is that they stop making an effort. Capricorns are known for their strong sense of responsibility, especially in their relationships. They'll go out of their way to take care of those they love and ensure that everyone around them is taken care of. But when they're emotionally wounded, they stop putting in that effort. This isn't to say that they don't care. It's just that they've emotionally checked out and they're not willing to invest energy into something that's causing them pain. If you're in a relationship with a Capricorn and you notice that they've stopped putting in the same level of effort they once did, it's a clear sign that they're hurt. This could mean they stop making plans, neglect their usual gestures of affection, or stop trying to solve problems. It might seem like they've given up, but in reality, they're just trying to protect themselves from further emotional injury. For a Capricorn, making an effort is a form of vulnerability, and if they feel that vulnerability has been betrayed, they'll pull back entirely. It can be painful to watch a Capricorn stop trying, especially when they've always been dependable and diligent in their relationships. However, this is often their way of protecting themselves from further hurt. They've been let down, and they're choosing not to invest more emotional energy into something that doesn't feel safe. Number 8, they get unusually quiet. Capricorns are generally reserved individuals, so it's not uncommon for them to keep their thoughts and feelings to themselves. But when they're hurt, their quietness becomes even more noticeable. A Capricorn who is dealing with emotional pain will become unusually quiet, avoiding conversation and shutting down in social situations. It's as if they've withdrawn into themselves entirely, unwilling or unable to express what's going on inside. This shift in behavior can be difficult to navigate, especially if you're used to them being more communicative. When hurt, a Capricorn will stop engaging in the kinds of deep, meaningful conversations they normally enjoy. They'll retreat to a place where they feel emotionally protected and they won't want to discuss what's bothering them. For a Capricorn, talking about their pain feels like losing control, and they'd rather keep things to themselves than expose their vulnerability to others. Their silence isn't a reflection of their feelings toward you, but rather a sign of how deeply they are struggling internally. They might want to talk about it, but they won't feel comfortable doing so. If you notice this sudden quietness, it's essential to give them time and space. Don't pressure them to speak before they're ready. They may need to process their emotions on their own before they can open up. Number 9, they avoid physical affection. Capricorns are often seen as emotionally reserved, but they also have a deep capacity for affection. When they're in a committed relationship, they show their love through actions rather than words, small gestures, thoughtful acts, and a steady presence. However, when a Capricorn is hurt, they will withdraw from physical affection. They'll stop hugging, holding hands, or engaging in the little acts of intimacy that usually characterize their relationships. This withdrawal is not an indication that they no longer care. Rather, it's a sign that they are protecting themselves. For Capricorns, physical affection is a vulnerable act, And when they are emotionally wounded, they don't feel comfortable being physically close to others. They may even avoid eye contact, as maintaining a close connection can feel like a breach of their emotional boundaries when they're feeling hurt. This behavior can be confusing, especially if you've always had a warm and affectionate relationship. You may feel rejected, but in reality, the Capricorn is just trying to shield themselves from further emotional pain. Physical affection requires a level of emotional safety that they don't feel when they're hurt. They need time to heal and regain that sense of security before they can fully reconnect. Number 10, they become more critical of themselves. Perhaps one of the most painful signs of a Capricorn being hurt is when they become unusually critical of themselves. Capricorns are naturally hard on themselves, striving for perfection and setting high standards. But when they're emotionally wounded, this self-criticism intensifies. They'll question their worth, wonder if they did something wrong, or feel inadequate because they've been hurt by someone they trusted. A Capricorn who is struggling emotionally might become consumed by negative thoughts. They might feel like they've failed in some way, or they may even blame themselves for the hurt they're experiencing. This self-critical attitude can be devastating, as it not only deepens their emotional pain, but also makes it harder for them to seek help or comfort from others. They may feel like they're undeserving of support or love because they've allowed themselves to be hurt in the first place. This behavior can be challenging to witness, especially if you care deeply for the Capricorn in question. It's important to offer reassurance and remind them of their value, even when they can't see it themselves. However, don't push them to accept comfort before they're ready. Let them know you're there for them, but allow them to work through their self-doubt at their own pace. Capricorns are often regarded as some of the strongest individuals in the zodiac. Their ability to remain steady, reliable, and focused on their goals is nothing short of impressive. But beneath that hard exterior lies a deeply sensitive soul. When a Capricorn is hurt, they may not show it in the dramatic or obvious ways that some other signs might. Instead, they tend to withdraw, retreat, and turn inward, making it difficult for those around them to see the depth of their emotional pain. However, there are still unmistakable signs that a Capricorn is hurting, even if they are trying to hide it. Let's look at 5 more signs that reveal when a Capricorn is emotionally wounded. Signs that may be subtle, but no less telling. Number 11, they hold grudges. Capricorns have long memories, especially when it comes to emotional wounds. While they may seem patient and forgiving on the surface, when they are hurt, they are likely to hold on to grudges for much longer than they let on. Their tendency to be logical and practical means they often analyze situations carefully. And when they feel betrayed or disappointed, they may replay the event in their minds over and over, never quite letting go of the hurt. This doesn't mean that Capricorns are vindictive or enjoy holding on to grudges, but rather that they can't easily move past hurt without first processing it on their own terms. For them, letting go is a process that requires time, and during this period, they may become emotionally distant or act like nothing happened. They might forgive you, but they will not forget the incident, and it will likely resurface later in conversation, sometimes in subtle ways that make you realize just how deeply they've been affected. If a Capricorn holds a grudge against you, it's important to give them space to process their feelings. While they may not openly confront you about it, they need time to work through the pain. In some cases, they might need a reminder that their feelings matter and that it's okay to talk about what happened, but pushing them to forgive before they're ready will only create more distance. Number 12, they become passive-aggressive. When a Capricorn is hurt, they often struggle to express their feelings directly. Confrontation is something they avoid unless absolutely necessary, and even then, they prefer to stay composed. Instead of dealing with their pain openly, they might resort to passive-aggressive behavior. This could manifest in sarcastic comments, subtle jabs, or withdrawing in ways that feel ambiguous. For instance, they might give short, curt answers or stop engaging in the same way they usually do. They may act like everything is fine on the surface, but their actions will suggest otherwise. If they've been hurt by something you said or did, they might start to act distant or irritated without explaining why. Rather than addressing the root of the issue, They'll often show their frustration through indirect means. This passive-aggressive behavior is a way for Capricorns to express their hurt without directly confronting the person involved. They feel emotionally vulnerable and don't want to risk opening up only to be hurt again. As a result, they use indirect methods of communication to convey their feelings, methods that are sometimes hard to detect or fully understand. If you notice a Capricorn becoming passive-aggressive, it's a sign that something deeper is going on. Rather than letting it fester, it might be helpful to gently ask them if there's something wrong. They may not open up right away, but acknowledging their behavior and showing empathy can make a difference in encouraging them to eventually talk about it. Number 13, they take longer to trust again. Capricorns take trust very seriously. When they give their trust to someone, it's a significant act of emotional investment. This is why, when they are hurt, it can be incredibly difficult for them to rebuild that trust. Capricorns are not quick to forgive, especially if they feel that someone has broken the bond of trust they've worked so hard to establish. When they've been let down by someone they care about, they often question whether they can ever fully trust that person again. The recovery from broken trust is a long and complex process for a Capricorn. They will need time to reflect on the situation, evaluate the damage, and figure out if the relationship is worth repairing. Even if they outwardly seem to forgive, internally, they will be cautious about letting their guard down again. This guarded approach may make them seem distant or emotionally unavailable, even when they're still present physically. If you've hurt a Capricorn and they've started to take longer to trust you again, it's important to show them consistency and reliability over time. Rebuilding trust with a Capricorn requires a steady commitment to being honest, dependable, and transparent. They may not express their doubts openly, but their actions will reveal whether they're slowly starting to trust you again. Number 14, they stop sharing personal details. Capricorns are naturally private people. They value their independence and prefer to keep their personal lives to themselves. But when they are hurt, they take privacy to a whole new level. If a Capricorn is emotionally wounded, they will stop sharing personal details about their life. This includes their thoughts, feelings, and even the small, everyday moments they would normally confide in you about. When a Capricorn is hurt, they'll withdraw into themselves and shut off the parts of their lives that they once shared with others. They may become vague in conversation or avoid discussing anything of significance. This is their way of keeping their emotional world safe from potential harm. It's a sign that they're not ready to be vulnerable with you because they don't feel secure enough to open up. This emotional withdrawal can be confusing for those who are close to the Capricorn. If they've stopped sharing details about their life, it's an indication that they are still processing their hurt. While they may continue to function normally on the outside, they're internalizing their feelings and protecting themselves from further pain. The key to reconnecting with a hurt Capricorn is to give them space to process and heal. Eventually, they may begin to open up again, but it will take time and trust building. Patience is essential if you want to show them that you're there for them without overwhelming them with pressure to share before they're ready. Number 15, they start second-guessing the relationship. Capricorns are deeply committed individuals who invest time, energy, and emotional resources into their relationships. When they're hurt, however, they may start to question everything about the relationship. This includes doubting whether it's worth continuing or wondering if the emotional pain they're experiencing is a sign that the relationship isn't healthy for them. They may even begin to weigh their options and consider whether they're better off moving on. For a Capricorn, this kind of second-guessing is not done lightly. They are practical thinkers who prefer stability and security in their relationships. And when that security is threatened, they may start to reevaluate their choices. They don't take commitment lightly, but if they feel that the relationship is causing them more harm than good, they may start to emotionally detach. This shift in thinking can be particularly difficult for those involved with a Capricorn, as they tend to internalize their emotions and avoid discussing their doubts. If you notice a Capricorn beginning to question the relationship or pulling away from deeper connections, it's likely because they are hurt and trying to figure out how to protect themselves from further pain. Capricorns are known for their ability to keep their emotions in check. They are logical, controlled, and often seem like they have everything under control. But when they are hurt, these same qualities can make it difficult for others to recognize their emotional pain. Unlike some signs that may wear their hearts on their sleeves, Capricorns tend to hide their feelings, making their hurt harder to detect. However, there are still subtle signs that reveal when a Capricorn is struggling emotionally. These signs may not be obvious at first glance, but they are there if you know what to look for. Number 16, they become overly self-reliant. Capricorns are incredibly self-sufficient, and when they are hurt, this trait becomes even more pronounced. A Capricorn who is emotionally wounded will retreat into themselves, relying solely on their own resources to cope with the pain. They may distance themselves from others, even the people they care about most, as a way to protect themselves from being vulnerable. This increased self-reliance is not a sign that they don't need support. Rather, it's a reflection of their desire to maintain control over their emotions. Capricorns often feel that asking for help is a sign of weakness. So when they are hurt, they try to handle everything on their own. They may avoid opening up to others about their pain because they fear being judged or appearing weak. If you notice that a Capricorn is becoming more distant and focused on handling things by themselves, it may be a sign that they are emotionally struggling. They may shut others out because they believe that handling the situation alone is the best way to regain control. While this can be a way for them to protect themselves, it also means that they are carrying the emotional burden in isolation. This can make them feel more overwhelmed and disconnected from those around them. If you want to help a Capricorn who is hurt, it's important to give them space to process their emotions, but also to let them know that you're there for them. They may not ask for help, but gentle support and reassurance can go a long way in letting them know that they don't have to carry their pain alone. Number 17, they become more serious. Capricorns are often known for their no-nonsense attitude and their focus on achieving their goals. But when they are hurt, this seriousness becomes even more pronounced. A Capricorn who is emotionally wounded will become even more focused on their responsibilities and obligations. They may stop allowing themselves to have fun or to relax because they feel like they need to constantly be working or solving problems. This shift towards a more serious demeanor is often a way for them to avoid confronting their feelings. They may believe that focusing on tasks and being productive will help them forget the emotional pain they are experiencing. However, in reality, this increased seriousness can be a sign that they are trying to block out their emotions by keeping their mind occupied with practical matters. If you notice a Capricorn becoming more serious or withdrawn from lighter, more enjoyable activities, it's likely because they are emotionally hurting. Their usual sense of humor or easygoing nature may be replaced by an intense focus on getting things done as they try to regain control over their situation. While it may seem like they are shutting out the world, they are actually trying to protect themselves from further emotional vulnerability. If you want to support a Capricorn in this state, it's important to help them find a balance. Encouraging them to take breaks and engage in activities that bring them joy can help them reconnect with their emotional side and allow them to process their hurt in a healthier way. Number 18, they avoid confrontation. One of the most telling signs that a Capricorn is hurt is their sudden avoidance of confrontation. Capricorns are usually very direct and pragmatic, and they have no problem addressing issues head-on. But when they are emotionally wounded, they will avoid confrontation at all costs. They don't want to open up about their feelings, and they certainly don't want to have a difficult conversation that could make them feel even more vulnerable. This avoidance of confrontation can be particularly difficult for people who are close to a Capricorn. You may notice that they start avoiding important discussions, even when those discussions are necessary to address the issue at hand. Instead of confronting the problem directly, they might shut down or change the subject. They may even pretend that everything is fine, even though their actions suggest otherwise. The reason a Capricorn avoids confrontation when they are hurt is because they fear the emotional fallout. They don't want to risk exposing their pain, and they don't want to deal with the potential disappointment of not getting the understanding or support they need. Confrontation feels too raw and risky for them, and so they choose to avoid it altogether. If you're in a relationship with a Capricorn and you notice them avoiding important conversations, it's a sign that they are emotionally withdrawing. Rather than pushing them to talk about their feelings, it's important to give them time and space to process their emotions. Gently encourage them to open up when they're ready, but don't force the issue. Let them know that you're there to listen whenever they feel comfortable sharing. Number 19, they try to appear unaffected. When a Capricorn is hurt, they will often go to great lengths to appear unaffected by the situation. Capricorns are incredibly proud, and they don't want anyone to see them in a state of vulnerability. This can lead them to put on a facade of being perfectly fine, even when they are deeply hurting inside. This ability to appear unaffected can make it incredibly difficult for others to recognize that something is wrong. On the surface, a Capricorn might seem calm, collected, and completely composed. They may go about their daily activities as usual, maintaining a sense of normalcy and control. However, beneath the surface, they are struggling with the emotional pain that they are trying to hide. For a Capricorn, appearing unaffected is a way to protect their pride. They don't want to show weakness, and they don't want to burden others with their feelings. But this emotional suppression can take a toll on them over time. If they continue to suppress their emotions, they may eventually feel overwhelmed by the weight of their hurt. If you notice that a Capricorn is acting like everything is fine, even though their actions suggest otherwise, it's important to gently check in with them. Let them know that you're there to listen and support them without forcing them to open up before they're ready. They may need time to process their emotions privately, but knowing that they have a safe space to express themselves can help them feel less alone in their pain. Number 20, they become more critical of themselves. Capricorns are naturally hard on themselves. They set high standards and are often their own harshest critics. But when they are hurt, this self-criticism becomes even more intense. They may begin to question their worth, their decisions, and whether they have done something to deserve the pain they're feeling. A Capricorn who is emotionally wounded will likely internalize their hurt and blame themselves for what happened. They may wonder if they could have done something differently to prevent the situation, or if they are somehow to blame for the pain they are experiencing. This heightened self-criticism can lead to feelings of inadequacy and a diminished sense of self-worth. This tendency to blame themselves is not only damaging to their emotional health, but also makes it harder for them to reach out for help. They may feel like they don't deserve support or that they should be able to handle the situation on their own. This can lead them to shut down even further as they try to deal with their hurt privately. If you notice a Capricorn becoming more self-critical than usual, it's a sign that they are deeply affected by what has happened. They may need reassurance that they are not to blame for the situation and that their feelings are valid. Offer them understanding and empathy, and remind them that they are not alone in their struggle. Capricorns are often seen as the rock of their social circles, resilient, dependable, and calm under pressure. They are capable of handling stress and difficult situations with a level-headed approach, which sometimes leads others to assume they are impervious to emotional pain. But this perception is far from the reality of a Capricorn's emotional world. When a Capricorn is hurt, they can be surprisingly private and subtle in expressing their pain. They won't seek out sympathy or attention, but instead, they may handle their hurt in ways that aren't immediately obvious. Understanding the hidden signs that a Capricorn is emotionally wounded is key to offering the support they need, even when they aren't asking for it. Number 21, they distance themselves emotionally. One of the most hidden and insidious signs that a Capricorn is hurt is emotional distance. Capricorns are known for their strong work ethic and practicality, and they often try to keep their emotions in check. However, when they are emotionally wounded, they may begin to distance themselves emotionally from the people around them. This emotional withdrawal might not always be easy to spot. They may still be physically present, but the emotional connection that once existed between you and them will feel absent. For instance, if you're close to a Capricorn, you might notice that they no longer share their thoughts or feelings like they once did. They become less open and more closed off. Even in situations where they would normally express their emotions, they may stop offering their advice, opinions, or just sharing their general thoughts on life. What once felt like a genuine close bond may feel distant and strained, leaving you wondering what happened. Capricorns are naturally private, but when they're hurt, they take this need for privacy to the extreme. They may want to process their feelings on their own without burdening others with their pain. This emotional distancing isn't a sign of indifference, but a defense mechanism. They fear that opening up too much could lead to further vulnerability and possibly more hurt. Instead, they prefer to internalize their feelings, dealing with them privately. If you notice that a Capricorn is pulling away emotionally, it's important to give them space, but also let them know you're available to support them when they are ready to open up. Letting them process their emotions in their own time can help them regain their emotional balance, but reminding them that you are there for them can help them feel less alone in their struggle. Number 22, they seem indifferent or apathetic. When a Capricorn is hurt, they may display indifference or apathy toward things that normally matter to them. Capricorns are goal-oriented individuals who typically take great pride in their work, relationships, and other aspects of their lives. But when they are emotionally wounded, they may start to appear indifferent or uninterested in things that usually engage them. This can be especially noticeable in relationships. A Capricorn who is hurt might stop showing interest in the activities they once enjoyed with their partner, like going out for dinner, spending quality time together, or even engaging in deep conversations. They may act as though they don't care about the outcome of the relationship or the things that used to matter most to them. This shift in behavior may be their way of coping with emotional pain. Capricorns can be deeply affected by betrayal, rejection, or disappointment, and instead of confronting the issue, they may withdraw and stop investing emotionally. The apathy they display is a form of self-protection, where they disconnect from the things that once brought them joy, believing that emotional investment only leads to further hurt. If you notice a Capricorn acting indifferent or apathetic, it's important to recognize that this is a defense mechanism, not a reflection of their true feelings. They may still care deeply, but are afraid of being hurt again. Patience is key in these situations. Giving them the time and space to work through their emotions will help them regain their sense of connection when they feel ready. Number 23, they stop being their usual supportive self. Capricorns are known for their unwavering support of their friends and loved ones. They often go out of their way to offer practical help, give advice, and make sure others are taken care of. They value loyalty and tend to be dependable, always there for the people they care about. However, when a Capricorn is hurt, they may stop being the supportive person they usually are. If you are close to a Capricorn and you notice that they are no longer as available to offer advice, help, or emotional support, it's a clear sign that something is wrong. They may seem more self-absorbed or less interested in helping you with your problems. This is because their focus has shifted inward, and they are too preoccupied with their own emotional pain to extend themselves to others. They may be going through a period of introspection, trying to make sense of their feelings. This change in behavior can be hard to accept, especially if you've always relied on a Capricorn for their wisdom and stability. But it's important to understand that this shift is a reflection of their emotional state. They are no longer in a position to give because they are struggling to deal with their own hurt. While they may not express their pain openly, their actions of withdrawal or lack of support signal that they need time to heal and recover. If you're concerned about a Capricorn pulling away in this way, offer them the space they need, but also gently remind them that you are there for them when they are ready. Sometimes, they just need a little reassurance that it's okay to take a break from being the strong one and lean on others for support. Number 24, they stop engaging in intimate conversations. Capricorns are not typically known for being overly emotional or dramatic. However, they are capable of deep emotional connection with the right person. When a Capricorn is hurt, they may stop engaging in intimate or vulnerable conversations altogether. They will close themselves off emotionally, avoiding topics that require them to open up about their feelings or personal experiences. This shift can be particularly noticeable in close relationships. If a Capricorn has been hurt, they may no longer feel comfortable sharing their thoughts or emotions. They will avoid discussions that might make them feel vulnerable, even if they would normally be willing to share. This withdrawal from intimacy is a way for them to protect themselves from further emotional injury. They fear that opening up could expose them to more pain, so they choose to close off. If you are in a relationship with a Capricorn and notice this change, it's important to understand that it's not a reflection of how they feel about you. They may still love you, but they simply don't feel safe enough to share their emotions right now. Pushing them to talk about their feelings when they aren't ready can make them feel even more vulnerable and withdrawn. Instead, give them time and space to process their emotions. When they feel safe enough, they will begin to open up again. Number 25, they start making self-sacrifices. Another hidden sign that a Capricorn is hurting is when they begin making self-sacrifices in ways that seem excessive. Capricorns are often willing to do whatever it takes to achieve their goals and take care of those they love. However, when they are hurt, they may take this sense of self-sacrifice to an extreme. They may begin to put others' needs ahead of their own, to the point where they neglect their own well-being. This behavior is often a coping mechanism. Instead of confronting their own emotional pain, a Capricorn may focus on helping others, thinking that if they can make someone else happy, it will somehow alleviate their own suffering. This selflessness is not always healthy, as it can lead to emotional exhaustion and burnout. It's their way of deflecting attention from their own hurt, but in the process, they may end up neglecting their own emotional needs. If you notice a Capricorn starting to make excessive sacrifices or putting their own well-being on the back burner, it's a sign that they may be struggling emotionally. They might be trying to avoid confronting their pain by throwing themselves into taking care of others. It's important to encourage them to take care of themselves and remind them that it's okay to ask for help when they need it. Capricorns may often seem stoic and unshakable, but just like everyone else, they are deeply affected when they're hurt. Their emotional pain, however, is often less visible than that of other signs. They are experts at keeping their emotions under wraps, presenting a calm and collected exterior to the world. But the truth is that when a Capricorn is hurt, there are signs that are unmistakably clear, signs that can't be easily ignored, even if they try to mask them. These signs may not be overt displays of emotion, but if you pay close attention, you'll see that a Capricorn's usual composure starts to shift. In this section, we will explore 5 unmistakable signs that reveal when a Capricorn is emotionally wounded, even if they are doing their best to hide it. Number 26. They start acting more irritable and short-tempered. Capricorns are typically known for their calm and methodical nature, but when they're hurt, they can become noticeably more irritable and short-tempered. This shift in behavior is a clear sign that something is bothering them. The frustration they feel inside, combined with their inability to express it openly, can cause their patience to wear thin. They might snap at small things that usually wouldn't bother them, and their usual level of composure might crumble. If a Capricorn starts displaying an unusual level of irritation or impatience, it's often because they are dealing with emotional pain that they are not ready to confront. They may feel overwhelmed by their feelings and frustrated by their inability to communicate those emotions. The anger or irritability they display may not be directed at you, but it's their way of releasing built-up tension. This is especially true for Capricorns, who are not accustomed to expressing vulnerability. Instead of confronting their hurt head-on, they may lash out in other ways, perhaps over minor issues that wouldn't typically set them off. If you notice a Capricorn acting more irritable, don't take it personally. This behavior is often an attempt to deal with emotions they feel they cannot fully express. If you're close to a Capricorn, try to remain patient and understanding, offering them a space to calm down without pressuring them to open up. A gentle reminder that you're there for them might help them shift out of their irritability and begin to process their feelings. Number 27. They stop taking care of themselves. Capricorns usually take great pride in their appearance, health, and overall well-being. They are disciplined in their routines and often prioritize their physical and emotional health. However, when a Capricorn is hurt, one of the most noticeable signs is that they stop taking care of themselves the way they usually would. They might skip their regular workout, neglect grooming habits, or simply stop caring about things that once felt important to them. This neglect of self-care is often an indication that they are overwhelmed by their emotional state. They may feel so burdened by their pain that they don't have the energy or motivation to maintain their usual routines. This behavior is a form of emotional exhaustion. They are so consumed by the hurt they're experiencing that the things they typically do to take care of themselves fall to the wayside. If you notice a Capricorn not taking care of themselves or withdrawing from their usual routines, it's a sign that they may be struggling emotionally. While Capricorns are fiercely independent, their inability to care for themselves in the way they normally would suggests that their emotional state is taking a toll on them. This can be a critical point where they need someone to step in and offer support, whether it's through encouragement to get back into their routines or simply providing a safe space for them to relax and recharge. Number 28, they start overthinking and overanalyzing. Everything Capricorns are naturally analytical individuals. They enjoy planning and considering all possibilities before making decisions. But when they are hurt, their tendency to overthink and overanalyze everything becomes even more pronounced. They may replay events in their mind repeatedly, trying to understand what went wrong and what they could have done differently. This can lead them to become obsessed with finding answers, often at the expense of their emotional well-being. Overthinking is a coping mechanism for Capricorns. It's how they try to regain control over a situation that has caused them emotional pain. By analyzing every detail, they attempt to make sense of their hurt and to figure out how they can fix things. However, this overthinking can often make their emotional pain worse, leading them to spiral into negative thoughts and self-doubt. If a Capricorn starts overthinking, it's a sign that they are feeling out of control emotionally and trying to regain their footing. Their usual calmness and logical nature are being overshadowed by their emotional turmoil. As someone close to them, it's important to give them the space to think things through, but also to gently encourage them to focus on the present and stop getting lost in hypothetical scenarios. Let them know that it's okay not to have all the answers right away and that they don't have to fix everything on their own. Number 29, they become quietly resentful. A Capricorn who is hurt may not always vocalize their feelings right away, but they will likely start to become quietly resentful. This resentment is often subtle and may not be expressed outwardly, but it can be sensed in their demeanor or actions. They may hold on to their hurt without openly confronting it, but it will manifest in other ways. Perhaps they'll act more distant, be less responsive, or stop making the effort they once did in the relationship. Resentment in a Capricorn is often a sign that they've been hurt by someone they trusted and are now struggling to forgive. They may feel betrayed, ignored, or unappreciated, and this emotional wound causes them to silently build resentment. While they may not voice their feelings right away, their actions will reflect their growing dissatisfaction. This can be particularly frustrating for those who are close to a Capricorn, as they tend to internalize their emotions rather than sharing them openly. If you notice a Capricorn becoming quietly resentful, it's important to approach them with sensitivity. Gently ask if something is wrong, but don't push too hard. Allow them the space to process their feelings and let them know that you are open to hearing their concerns when they are ready to share. Resentment can be difficult to dissolve, but with patience and understanding, a Capricorn will be more likely to open up and begin the healing process. Number 30, they push people away. Capricorns are generally very selective about who they allow into their inner circle. They don't easily trust others, and they invest deeply in relationships that are important to them. But when a Capricorn is hurt, one of the most unmistakable signs is that they start to push people away. They'll distance themselves from those they care about and retreat into their own space. This is their way of protecting themselves from further emotional injury. Pushing people away may seem like a defensive tactic, but for Capricorns, it's a way of taking control of a situation in which they feel vulnerable. They believe that by isolating themselves, they can protect their hearts from being hurt again. This withdrawal can make it difficult for loved ones to offer support or even understand what's going on. A Capricorn who is hurting doesn't want to burden others with their pain, so they shut down emotionally and withdraw from social interactions. If you notice that a Capricorn is pushing you away, It's essential to respect their need for space, but also to reassure them that you are there for them when they are ready to reconnect. For Capricorns, opening up and allowing someone back in after they've been hurt can take time, but gentle support and consistency will go a long way in helping them feel safe enough to come back. By now, we've explored the many ways that a Capricorn expresses emotional hurt. Capricorns are known for their resilience and ability to keep their emotions in check, which can make it challenging to see when they are truly struggling. They are not the type to wear their hearts on their sleeves, and their pride often prevents them from opening up about their emotional pain. However, understanding the subtle signs that a Capricorn is hurt can offer you deeper insight into their emotional world and help you provide the support they need during difficult times. From the moment a Capricorn starts to pull away, becoming emotionally distant, or even avoiding conversations, you can tell that something is wrong. Their natural tendency is to retreat when they are hurt, often becoming more self-reliant and withdrawn. They may act cold, distant, or apathetic, choosing to keep their pain locked inside rather than share it with others. Their ability to push people away, become overly critical of themselves, and even overanalyze every detail of a situation reflects the emotional turmoil they experience when wounded. It's easy to misunderstand a Capricorn's emotional responses. While they might seem unaffected or indifferent, it's actually their way of protecting themselves. They don't want to seem vulnerable, and they may avoid confrontation or criticism to shield themselves from further pain. This emotional withdrawal often manifests as irritability or even self-neglect, where they stop taking care of themselves as they once did. Their overthinking can lead them to spiral into negative thoughts, questioning their worth or what went wrong. Capricorns may also develop a quiet resentment toward those who have hurt them, but because they rarely express their emotions openly, this resentment often stays buried. Their emotions can be buried under layers of logic and reason, which makes it even harder to identify when they are struggling. But recognizing these signs, whether it's their growing irritability, withdrawal, or self-sacrificial behavior, can make all the difference in understanding their inner world. While their pride and need for independence often keep them from asking for help, a Capricorn does still need support when they're hurting. If you notice these subtle shifts in behavior, it's important to offer them a safe space to open up, even if they don't directly ask for it. Patience, empathy, and a willingness to be there when they're ready to talk can help them heal. Above all, reminding them that they don't need to face their struggles alone can help them feel supported during their most vulnerable moments. If you've learned more about the Capricorn heart and how they deal with emotional pain, make sure to leave a comment below sharing your thoughts. Have you ever noticed these signs in a Capricorn? How did you handle it? We'd love to hear your personal experiences and connect with you in the comments. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the Secret of the Zodiac channel for more insights into zodiac signs and their emotional worlds. Feel free to check out our other videos where we dive deep into the characteristics and behavior of all the zodiac signs. Each video offers new insights into how these signs think, act, and navigate their emotions. So there's always something interesting to discover. Be sure to join our growing community of astrology enthusiasts and leave your comments to keep the conversation going. Your feedback and participation mean the world to us, and we appreciate every single one of you. So, what do you think? Do you have any more signs or observations about Capricorns that you'd like to share? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's keep exploring the fascinating world of astrology together. Make sure to subscribe to stay updated with all our latest videos, and don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this one. Until next time, keep shining and stay connected with the stars.